Hey y'all, Barrister Billy here once again. And in this episode of Barrister Eats, I'm going to share with you our monster cookie recipe. Delicious, creamy peanut butter, oats, chocolate chips, M&M's. What can go wrong with that? It's a great little recipe. It'll make about 3 dozen or so, depending on how big you make your cookies. Plenty for you to share with your friends, or maybe not. Maybe to eat them all yourself. It's also a great recipe to have your kids help you with. My kids would probably be in here helping right now, but it's a nice day, so they're outside playing. But let's gather up some ingredients and start cooking. Alright, for our ingredients for our monster cookies, we are going to need 4.5 cups of quick cook oats, not instant oats, but 4.5 cups of quick cook oats. You're going to need 3 eggs, and I've left these out at room temperature for about 30-45 minutes just to help in the process. That's not necessarily necessary, but sometimes they recommend doing that type of stuff. We have 1 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar, 1 cup of regular white granulated sugar, 12 ounces of creamy peanut butter, 1/2 cup of chocolate chips, 1/2 cup of M&M's, 1 stick of butter at room temperature. We want it to be nicely softened and help mix up easier. We have 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Alright, our first step is going to be combining the eggs and the sugar. I've already broken our eggs into our pan, so I will add the white sugar, again a cup of that, 1 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar. I'm going to use my mixer and mix those together well. Got a nice creamy consistency. Again, that is our eggs and our 2 sugars. Next to that, we are going to add our baking soda, salt, vanilla, the stick of softened butter, and our peanut butter. And again, we'll use our mixer and mix this till it's combined. We finished mixing together those ingredients. Again, we added our butter, baking soda, salt, vanilla, and peanut butter. Got a nice creamy consistency there. So now we're going to start adding in our oats, our chocolate chips, and our M&M's. I like to do this just a little bit at a time because this will be very thick and it will get hard to serve. The M&M's and the chocolate chips, I just dump in all at once. But I like to put I like to put the oats in a little bit at a time. That was probably about 1/3 of the oats. Stir it, trying to get a nice consistency. See it starting to get incorporated in there. So we'll add some more oats. Then do the same thing, and we will keep doing this until all of the oats have been incorporated into our batter. Alright, that's quite a workout. You're going to need to use a strong wooden spoon, lots of muscles to get that nicely incorporated. I have a baking sheet here, just a piece of parchment paper to go on top of it. The oven is preheated to 350 degrees. I have a scoop. Again, I've sprayed my scoop with some cooking oil just to help it, or cooking spray rather, just to help it release, and I will scoop all my cookies onto my tray. Probably put them about 2 inches apart or so. So on this baking sheet, probably get about 4 rows of maybe 5. I don't really remember. All right, we've got all of our cookie dough on our tray ready to go into the oven. Right now I have trays 1 and 2 in the oven, trays 3 and 4 prepared and ready to go. Again, depending on the size of the scoop that you use, you'll get maybe 3 dozen, maybe a little bit more. If you make them really big, you may get less. But one of the things, because this does make a lot of cookies, which is great, especially for sharing, one of the things I like to do is raise the top rack in my oven. My oven is 1, so it's about 1/3, and then you have the bottom rack still there. I put 2 cookie sheets in at a time. Again, we're going for 8 to 10 minutes. So at the 4-minute mark, I am going to switch the trays. So the one in the top rack will now go to the bottom rack. The one on the bottom rack will now go to the top rack. And additionally, I'm going to turn the trays when I put them back in so that there is even cooking all the way around for these cookies. All right, it's about time for batch number 1 to come out of the oven. Again, at 350 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. That's going to actually depend on your oven. Sometimes, even with this oven, I can get it done in about 8.5 minutes. There are days where it takes closer to 12.5, maybe 13 minutes to finish the cookies. So I'm about to pull these out. One of the things that you want to look for too is you don't want them to be hard, because you're going to leave them on the tray for about 3 minutes to cool off, then move them to the cooling rack to finish cooling. But these cookies will actually continue to cook once you remove them from the oven. So yeah, that's nice. It's not going to be kind of hard for you to see, and I'm not going to burn myself, and for the sake of this particular video, they flattened out. Okay, that's getting hot. All right, I have removed batch number 1 from the oven. They flattened out. They started to get a little brown. They are still going to be a little bit soft to the touch. That's okay. Remember, these are going to continue cooking once you remove them from the oven. We're going to let them cool on these trays for 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'm going to very carefully move them to a cooling rack where I'm going to let them finish cooling before we enjoy the delicious monster cookies. All right, here are cookies cooling on a rack. I like to put a towel underneath the rack just to catch any crumbs. We're going to let these cool a few more minutes, and then we're going to take them out to the porch and see if anybody wants an afternoon cookie. All right, our first batch of cookies has sufficiently cooled. So I am going to take these out to the front porch. I think my family's sitting out there, and see if anybody wants an afternoon cookie. All right, who wants to ruin supper with some monster cookies?
I'm ruining my supper with monster cookies.
There you go.
Ruined it.
Can you try one too?
I like that.
It's good stuff.